The moment that name appeared on the screen, everything stopped. Not the room, not the officials, not the cameras still clicking around her, but Coco Gauff, the defending French Open champion, world number 4, the player who had spent weeks telling herself she was ready for anything. She went completely still. She had prepared for Aryna Sabalenka. She had a game plan for Iga Swiatek. But the name waiting for her in the 4th round of the draw, that one she hadn't truly braced for, Alex Eala, not because of her ranking, not because of her results, but because of what she carries with her onto every court she steps on. 110 million voices, a nation in the stands, and a force of energy that doesn't feel like crowd support anymore. It feels like weather. Paris, France, May 21st, 2026. Roland Garros draw ceremony. On the surface, it had been a completely unremarkable morning. Names were called. Seeds were slotted. Journalists were already typing up predictable headlines. Sabalenka in the top half, Swiatek lurking in the shadows, Rybakina positioned as the quiet threat. The usual order. The usual chaos. Then the 4th quarter of the bracket appeared on screen. In the players section, Gauff had been sitting calmly, or at least performing calm, the way elite competitors learn to do. Weeks of preparation had brought her to this moment. She kept reminding herself it was just another tournament, that she had been through worse. That pressure was just noise she had learned to tune out. That I've experienced every scenario that could prepare me for Roland Garros, she'd said earlier in the week. Asterisk, hopefully I can learn from all of it and do better. She had studied Sabalenka's serve patterns. She had survived Swiatek's forehand in 5 different Grand Slams. She had handled hostile crowds, late-night matches, and the weight of a nation's expectations since she was a teenager. But nothing, absolutely nothing, had prepared her for the moment she saw that name. That you've got to be kidding me, she whispered. Her coach leaned in. He didn't need to ask what she was looking at. The name sat there in the 4th round slot like it had been placed by someone who wanted to tell a story. Alex Eala. Not a top seed, not a former champion, but a phenomenon. And a phenomenon operates by entirely different rules than tennis rankings, because following Eala onto every court isn't just a fan base. It's a movement. The Philippine flags that flood every stadium she enters. The Laban, Alex chants that rise and fall like tidal waves through every rally. The tears in the stands. The signs that say things no tournament official would ever print. The unmistakable feeling that for her fans, this isn't sport, it's identity. It's a diaspora of over 100 million people who have found, in one young woman with a racket, a voice they never had before, and Coco Gauff had already felt that force from the inside. In Dubai, just months earlier, she had stood on the other side of that wall of noise. She admitted afterward that she had briefly tried to trick herself into believing the cheers were for her, just to stay locked in, just to keep her focus from fracturing. The strategy worked. The scoreboard read 6-0, 6-2, a convincing demolition by any measure. But Gauff had also seen something that day that the scoreboard couldn't capture. Eala refusing to crumble. Eala playing through the noise and the deficit with a quiet, stubborn belief that the score was only temporary. She's a tough competitor, Gauff said afterward. Even when I was up, I knew she could come back. I've seen her do it before. Now the rematch wasn't a possibility. It was a countdown, higher stakes, bigger stage, and a crowd unlike anything Gauff had ever truly prepared for. Her agent, coach, and physio were all talking at once, framing the matchup as an opportunity, reframing the narrative, doing what support teams do. Gauff wasn't listening. Her mind had already drifted to Rome. She kept seeing footage of Eala against Elena Rybakina, the world number 2, just weeks earlier. A match that ran 92 relentless minutes. Eala forcing 32 unforced errors from Rybakina while committing just 17 of her own. Breaking serve multiple times. Refusing to go away on a clay court that should have chewed her up. I think I was able to reach a good level of tennis, Eala said afterward. I don't think it was an easy win for her. That sentence landed differently than the scoreline. The Foro Italico had been drenched in Philippine flags that afternoon. Gauff had watched from the players' lounge. And for the first time in a long time, in a very long time, she had felt something unfamiliar creep in. Not fear of losing. Something quieter and more unsettling than that. Doubt that it's not the tennis, her coach said, reading her silence with the precision of someone who has spent years studying her. Asterisk, it's everything around it. The crowd, the noise, the flags. It's like playing in a way Grand Slam against someone who hasn't even won a title yet. Gauff finally looked up. She had played hostile crowds before. She had handled pressure that would have broken most players before they ever made it to a quarterfinal. But this felt different, because this didn't feel like pressure building from the outside. It felt like a wave she could already see forming on the horizon. Her coach finished the thought she'd been circling. "Not like this," he said quietly. "Never quite like this. Here's what matters, though." And this is where the story gets interesting. Because the Eala who was going to walk onto court, Philippe Chatrier, was not the same player Gauff had beaten 6-0, 6-2 back in February. Gauff's team had been re-watching footage deep into Parisian nights. And they kept arriving at the same uncomfortable conclusion. The player on screen barely resembled the one they had studied before Dubai. That February version of Eala had been formidable in spirit, but outmatched in execution. Ranked outside the top 40, she had managed just 2 games across 67 minutes against Gauff's relentless baseline aggression. The Philippine flags waved anyway. The chants never stopped. But the outcome had felt inevitable. A reminder of hierarchy, of the gap between a world-class champion and a rising force still finding her footing. "I know you're mostly supporting Alex," Gauff had said with a smile into the microphone afterward. "But I have to say it's great to be on a crowded court. I'd like to thank Alex for bringing a new demographic to the sport." The words were gracious. They were also a quiet declaration. "I can handle this." Then March arrived. Indian Wells. The rematch began, and it told a completely different story. Eala was leading 6-2, 1-0 when Gauff was forced to retire with an arm injury. The match ended without resolution, without closure, and without answers. But it left behind a question the tennis world couldn't stop asking. What if she had kept playing? That question had no answer. But the clay season offered new evidence. Linz. Stuttgart. Madrid. Early exits, heavy scorelines, whispers of doubt getting louder with every loss. The narrative was shifting. Maybe Eala's game couldn't survive on a surface this unforgiving. Maybe the Dubai and Indian Wells results had been outliers. Maybe the phenomenon was outrunning the player. Then she went back to the Rafa Nadal Academy, under the watch of Tony Nadal, the man who helped build the greatest clay court champion in history. Eala rebuilt something, tightened her game, sharpened her belief. And when she returned in Rome, she looked nothing like the player who had struggled through the early clay swing. She pushed Rybakina to the absolute limit. She held her nerve across 92 minutes of high-wire tennis. She walked off court afterward without apology and without fanfare, just the quiet confidence of someone who knows exactly how far she has come. Gauff's team watched. And one sentence became the theme of their preparation sessions: "She's not the same player." May 22, 2026. A practice court tucked away from the main grounds at Roland Garros. Sunrise session, before the cameras, before the crowds, before the full weight of the draw had fully settled in. Gauff stood at the baseline, racket in hand, staring at the ball machine like it owed her an apology. Her coach stood nearby, running drills, correcting footwork, offering the steady calm that had guided her through Grand Slam finals and championship nights in packed arenas. But today, even the rhythm felt wrong. "You're thinking about her," her coach said. Not a question. Gauff didn't respond. "She didn't need to. You've beaten her before," he continued. "You know her game. You know her weaknesses. Nothing has changed. Everything has changed," Gauff replied, barely above a whisper. "She's not the same player. The crowd's not the same crowd. This is not Dubai." Her coach considered that. "So what's your plan?" She was quiet for a long moment. She thought about Dubai, turning the noise into fuel. She thought about Indian Wells, an ending that satisfied nobody. She thought about a Filipina pushing Rybakina around a Roman clay court while flags waved in the evening light long after the final point had been played. "I don't have a plan yet," she finally said. "But I have a week to figure it out." "Good," he said. "Then let's get to work." The drills resumed. The machine hummed. The sun climbed higher over Roland Garros. But the weight of the draw never lifted. When the session finally ended and the machine fell silent, Gauff sat on the bench with a towel draped over her shoulders and a half-empty water bottle in her hand. Her coach waited a few feet away, saying nothing. In the distance, she could already hear it, the faint sounds of the tournament waking up. Fans arriving, flags being unfurled. The day beginning to find its voice. "I've been thinking about what you said." Asterisk, she started. "About nothing changing. About her being the same player." Her coach nodded. "You were wrong. she said. The words sat in the morning air that she's not the same player. And I'm not the same player I was in Dubai. None of us are. That's the whole point of this sport. We evolve, we grow, we learn. She stood, tossing the towel onto the bench. I've been treating this like a threat, like something to survive. But that's not how champions think. Champions don't survive moments. They use them. Her coach offered a small smile. So what's the opportunity? Gauff looked out at the empty stands, where in just days, thousands of Philippine flags would turn Philippe Chatrier into something resembling a home match for a player who had never won a Grand Slam title. The opportunity, she said slowly, is to show the world I can handle anything. Not just her game, not just her crowd. The noise, the pressure, the flags, the chants, the whole thing. I've been the villain before. I've played away matches before. I've won before. She picked up her racket, and if I beat her, in front of her people, in front of their flags, in front of their chants, then there is nothing left for anyone to throw at me. Not Swiatek, not Sabalenka, nobody. Her coach nodded slowly. That's the Coco I know, she smiled. A real one, not the composed, camera-ready version she had learned to manufacture under pressure. The real thing. Now let's go win a tournament. She walked off the court with her shoulders back and her head high. Behind her, the clay sat quiet and undisturbed in the early morning light, and somewhere across the grounds on a different practice court, Alex Eala was already working, drilling her serves, sharpening her returns, building her belief, point by point, hour by hour, the way she always did, without press conferences, without predictions, without feeding the noise surrounding her. When asked about the potential matchup, she kept it short that I don't control the draw. Asterisk, she said. Asterisk, I control my game. That's all I can do. The French Open was days away. The flags were being packed. The chants were being rehearsed. And two of the most compelling figures in women's tennis were moving, quietly and with absolute purpose, on a collision course that the tennis world could not look away from. On one side, a defending champion and world number 4 who had been shaken, truly shaken, by a name on a projector screen. A player who had gone pale, whispered, "You've got to be kidding me." Asterisk, and then spent the next 24 hours rebuilding herself from the inside out. On the other, a young Filipina who had been written off after a difficult clay swing, who had gone back to basics and come back transformed, who carried an entire nation's hope into every match she played, and who had quietly started believing that rankings were just numbers, and numbers could change. The question the tennis world was asking had no easy answer. Would experience and championship pedigree hold when it mattered most? Or would the Eala effect, that impossible, undeniable, unranked force that turned every tournament she entered into something bigger than sport, carry her to the biggest win of her career? One thing was certain. When these two walked out onto court, Philippe Chatrier, the red clay was going to witness something it had never quite seen before, and the whole world was going to be watching.